Welcome back. It's week 2 of social media and web analytics at Tilburg University. This week, you guys have your career week, so we're running a reduced schedule on classes. So there's just going to be a video lecture and a lab section, nothing in person this week. What's going to happen in those two moments? In the video lecture, we're going to talk about causality and difference in differences. So the idea here is trying to figure out and think through when can we make or take correlations between two variables, and when can we make causal claims out of that? What kind of assumptions do we need to make? And as we kind of walk through that, we're going to find there's going to be relatively heavy assumptions we might want, especially if the data is purely observational. So we only see data, there is no kind of intervention going on. And then what we're going to think about is how can we use some kind of intervention, be it an experiment that I as a firm design and then run, or some kind of natural experiment, i.e. there's some big shock to a system that was approximately unexpected and random and treated some people and not other people. How can we use that to then go out and make some causal claims? There'll also be a bit of an introduction to how to do that in R. As I said, because we're running this week during the career week, there's going to be no computer lecture, no in-person lecture this week. We'll pick that up again starting next week. This week also has your first lab section, and this week's lab section is going to be a little different in terms of the structure from this week compared to the next week's. In this week's lab section, we're going to talk about visualizing social media networks. So what we're going to cover is first just a getting to know each other exercise, because you haven't met in a lab section before, so a good way of getting to know the TA and him getting to know you guys and you guys getting to know each other. He'll talk about how to use Git and GitHub to get access to the weekly lab assignments and other lecture material, for those of you that are a bit unfamiliar with that. And then he's going to focus on how to visualize Twitter networks. So we're going to have some data pulled in from the Twitter API. So we've tried to connect it to Twitter, got some data pulled down. We want to then try to understand how are users on Twitter connected to each other? How can we get that out of the data? And how can we then visualize those connections? All of that stuff, particularly that last bit, is going to really help you with this week's lab assignment, which is about visualizing social media networks using Twitter data. So it's going to be a nice intro and a nice intro to the tools and the steps you might need to work through to go about getting that done. All right, that's all for this week in terms of things we're going to work through. See you in the next video.